Welcome to another Midweek Memo. Last week, we began a new series on the Midweek Memo, Real Lives. And we're having the privilege of looking right into the day-to-day lives of Christians and thinking about what difference it makes that they have their faith in their everyday. This week, we're going back to an interview that we conducted before Christmas in December with Lincoln Smith. Okay, so Lincoln, tell me a bit. What's been your experience of lockdown?
My experience of lockdown has been, I lost my job. 16th of March, an announcement came out on the news. I was in the theatre at the time, and we were told that we couldn't put on a performance that evening. We were due to go up at 7:30. I think we found out at about 7:05. The entire cast, the entire front of house department and the backstage department where I work, we felt flat. I was still on the books for the theatre. I was still an employee. So when lockdown ends, I will still have my job. I've been told that I'll have my job back again in April, unless another lockdown happens, but I'll still have my job in April. But I'll not get paid. And that was a huge blow. I mean, not just financially, it then sort of makes you realise that you are you are a nobody. You are somebody that has just been stricken off. That made me feel very low, horrible, actually. I had lost my sense of purpose. A lot of people take their sense of purpose with their career or their jobs or things that they do practically. If they go into their place of work, I mean, mine was the theatre. Working backstage in the theatre, aiding the smooth running of a show, was my sense of purpose. It was the thing that gave me pleasure. I'd lost that. Mentally, I was feeling that I didn't have anything to wake up in the morning for. I didn't have anything and I would literally stay in bed until late in the afternoon because I'd be on my phone. I had the luxury of having Wi-Fi, so I could look at YouTube videos. But what's the point? I was just going through my days not doing anything because I didn't have anything to do.
How did you manage that? How did you process that? And particularly, I guess I'm interested, how does your Christian faith help you deal with that?
At the beginning, I didn't process it. I didn't. I just sat around. I spent a lot of time cooking, so I spent a lot of time eating and drinking heavily. So I used chemical sustenance to cope, and then sort of realised that probably wasn't the best thing for me. I did pray a lot. I prayed a lot with other people who were in a much worse position than me, and that made me feel better, but also made me feel guilty. Very guilty that I was in this position, that I was getting financial compensation during the 6 months of furlough, and my friends weren't. My purpose did return when I was able to run errands for people. When I was in conversation with people, there were a few people that were in vulnerable positions through illnesses or through age-related vulnerability. And as soon as I started running errands, buying food, having conversations with these people, just a quick conversation on the phone would sort of almost lift their spirits, and in turn lift my spirits, because I would feel I was making some sort of difference.
In the midst of all of that, who was God to you? Who was Jesus to you? And you don't need to be pious about this. Just how did you see him? Did you far away, near?
Very far away. God was someone that has always been a father figure to me. Has always been Abba, Father, as we sing about in church every week. But during lockdown, he's been a very distant figure. Not all the time, I've sort of, my faith has got stronger towards the end of lockdown, but at the beginning it was very distant. I did go back to church, so I was there physically in the church building. And then my faith sort of became stronger through that. And I was able to see people that everybody around me had their own struggles. We were all feeling pretty rubbish about the situation, but we all came back to church to sing internally, not physically, but we were able to be there to fellowship at a distance, to be in a socially distanced building together.
Huge thanks to Lincoln for sharing some of his perspective and his experiences with us. It got me thinking a little bit about purpose. Lincoln shared how when he didn't have a job, his sense of purpose evaporated, and how he then recovered that purpose, not necessarily because a paycheck was coming in, but because he had a purpose in serving others and running errands. But that got me thinking further about identity and worth. It's so often the case, isn't it, that when we can't do the thing that we love to do, we lose our sense of worth. The Apostle Paul said, "I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me." I'm thinking of that verse because it's a reminder that our worth, our purpose, comes ultimately not even in the things that we do, however good they may be, but in the fact that we are loved by the Lord. And it's wonderful to be able to share with you that Lincoln is back at work and doing what he really loves, and that's serving the team at the theatre. Do join us next week for another Real Life on the Midweek Memo, but for now, a couple of notices. Firstly, this Friday ROCKZ is back on for kids in years 3 to 6. It starts at 6:30. Don't forget to sign up your kids for that, and perhaps get them to invite their friends as well to join us for that. And the second thing is that this Sunday, we're back looking at the book of Daniel. Do join us for our Sunday service, either online or in person. And if you haven't been in person, let me encourage you perhaps this Sunday to sign up nice and early as we're gradually easing up the capacity in line with our regulations and what safety permits. See you soon.